Yeah.
I'm now delighted to be joined online by Mark Keenan, the Irish senior basketball manager. Mark Keenan, in his playing career for Ireland, over 69 senior caps from 1986 to 1997. He was a team captain from Ireland from 1990 until his retirement in 1997. He played in 2 pre-Olympic qualification tournaments in 88 and 1992. In his club career, he's most fondly known for his time in St. Vincent Basketball Club, playing in 1999, 1990 up as far as 2001, and he was team captain from 1993 to 2001 for St. Vincent's, and accomplished many titles. And then he went on to manage the UL Eagles as well, and achieved titles there as well. So Mark, so first of all, I suppose it's been over, what I'd say, 40 years probably in the basketball sort of industry. So you have lots of memories, and that's only as in terms of an adult. Going back as a child playing basketball, I say we're going back 50 years or more.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of playing. It's a lot of coaching under the belt, and it was very hard to pick out a top 5, Jim, because there's been, as you say, so many games that I've played in and then coached in over those years. So it was a very difficult decision to get to actually, the 5. You did your homework well there, all right. You captured a lot in that intro. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and kind of delighted to get involved and be part of it.
And I suppose, Mark, we'll get you to the point. So your top 5 games. We'll start at your number 5, and what is your selection in 5th spot?
Well, I've picked the wild card, shall we say, the game that I wasn't involved in, right, in the number 5 spot. And I do love all sports. I kind of watch all sports. So a very difficult decision, because you look at, the rugby side of things and Ireland beating New Zealand. You look at some of the big golf things, the Ryder Cup, the Miracle at Medina. I loved all those sporting events, and obviously GAA and everything. But I've kind of brought it back to a basketball one.
Okay.
And it's probably a good hot topic at the moment, just after the release of the Last Dance video, about the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
So I've gone for the Dream Team, and their victory in the 92 Olympics. And you kind of said, yeah, Ireland played in that pre-Olympics, and our group was in Bilbao that year in Spain, and obviously we didn't progress. But I just, that game against Croatia in the final, I was actually in Clare away for the weekend with my wife now at that time. And we kind of, the final, I think it was on a Sunday night, and it was kind of, well, let's get out for dinner early and get back to watch the final, even though we were away for a weekend. So we watched, Croatia with Tony Kukoc, who was moving on to the Bulls then after that. And there was a good bit about that in the Last Dance documentary as well. So I just thought that was a fabulous game, but it was a fabulous team, with Jordan, Bird, Magic Johnson, Stockton, Malone. It was absolutely fabulous. But it always sticks in my mind, that game, in terms of we have to get home to the B&B and sit and watch that game. And it was so, that's the one I've picked as the wild card out of the 5.
And I'm just going to speak about that wild card, because we're all versed in the Last Dance, and we've been watching it as a keen enthusiast basketball coach, player myself in the past. I just got to ask you your opinion on Isaiah Thomas being left out of that dream team, and the scrutiny that sort of went on. Isaiah, I probably, in terms of all-time point guards, he's probably up there in the top 5, no question. But for him to be left out of the dream team, you've been involved in teams where harmony is so key, and on the basketball floor, that sort of locker room mentality, and guys have got to get along. People will say on roster, if you're picking on roster, Isaiah should be there. But you, as a general manager, if you have a star player like Michael Jordan in your team, and he says, listen, I don't want Isaiah in the squad, do you go by that, or do you have to listen to what the squad says?
Look, I'm not going to speculate whether that's what Jordan did say or didn't say. I'd only look at it from a coaching point of view, and You know, the coaches wanted to get the best team they could together at that time. And the philosophy I use today is I want to get the best team, you know, with the national team now and looking ahead to the Euros, we want to get the best team assembled as we can. But sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean you get the best players, you know, within that team. So it's, you know, I'm not going to speculate as to what the coach and staff, their preferences were at that time. You know, one coach might just have a liking for a particular type of player, you know, and a different coach has his mindset on it. So, yeah, it probably was a bit controversial that Isaiah wasn't part of that team, but I'm not going to speculate or judge, you know, why he was or wasn't in it.
I suppose I'm not going to push it any further. So, Mark, we'll move on to your number 4 selection. And what comes in for you at number 4?
So number 4 comes in as a player and as an underage player.
Okay.
And in 1984, the junior men's team, we headed off to Finland, Äänekoski in Finland, for the junior men's European Championships. And Danny Fulton from Belfast was the coach, and Enda Burt from Ennistimon there was the assistant coach. And we assembled, you know, the guys assembled a great team. Carl Butler, Paul McGuinness from St. Declan's, John Fitzgerald from St. Vincent's, who, as a result of that trip, myself and John are kind of the best of friends today, along with, I'm very friendly with all the guys that were on it, but myself and John, you know, became great friends out of that. Paul Fitzgerald, Don O'Sullivan, Tommy Higgins, Tommy Costello, John Donnellan. I know the team right through. And we went and we played Denmark in one of our group games, and that was the first ever under-19 victory at European level for an Irish team. And it was a memorable trip, you know, all the way through. Not just the win against Denmark, which was a historic big win. We played Holland that year with Rick Schmitz, you know, the great NBA legend, Indiana Pacers, in the lineup, and we just lost by we lost by 4 points to them in a really tight game. It was a magical trip at that time, but the victory was unreal. You know, to get our first European victory at junior men's level was something else to be a part of.
I suppose, Mark, we all know the great work Basketball Ireland is doing now in terms of development squads, especially since the turn of the decade. But back in those times in 1984, you mentioned players there from Ennistimon, you mentioned players from all over the parts of the country. The commitment involves being an Irish squad. Did you have regional bases, or was it all centred around Dublin? If you want to be in the Irish team, you had to make the long haul to.
It wasn't all around Dublin, you know, and we definitely moved. It definitely moved around a bit, you know, and obviously, like, moving on from that maybe a bit, when Enda Burt was head coach, we had a lot of weekends, you know, in Ennistimon because the facilities were there and available. But no, it wasn't just all, you know, you had to go to Dublin and that was it. It was definitely moved around a bit, you know. Funding was tough as well. You know, you had to kind of pay your way. You know, at that time as well, and I know that's tough for kids these days as well, to be, when they're involved with, you know, selected for national teams and squads. It's, you know, finance is a big, you know, investment, you know, by the family for these kids. But it was the same for us, you know, back in those days. And look, we prepared as best we could back in the day, but like the players I've just mentioned there was just like all top class, superb players. So that was one of the teams that maybe had a lot of the best players in the country at the time, you know, on the team.
And I suppose, Mark, in terms of that victory over Denmark itself, was it as a real sort of tight game? Was it a juggernaut game? Was it in the balance going into the fourth quarter? Yeah.
I think it was a tight game all the way through. We just edged it by a few points. I can't remember the exact margin, but it was tight all the way through. And kind of, I suppose, historic games between Ireland and Denmark have been tight as well, as we know from the great team that almost got to the A division in Europe, you know, with Jay Larenag and Pat Burke and those guys. They had to go to Denmark, you know, in that second leg of that match and just lost out in overtime. So traditionally, Ireland and Denmark have always had good, tough battles together.
I suppose that Mark, so far, Mark Keenan, we've had number 5, the Dream Team Olympic final against USA versus Croatia. At number 4, we've the 1984 Junior Men's team victory over Denmark in the under-19 European Championships. And the third spot for you now, Mark.
Okay, I'm moving into a coaching role now in with the third spot, and it's when I was coaching the UL Eagles. The first year I was coaching the UL Eagles, 2011-2012 season. And we had a kind of bit of a rough start to that season in terms of, I suppose, during the pre-season, things were a bit disruptive. We kind of had picked an American player that we were bringing in, and then that he got in a car accident just before he was to come, and it kind of threw things into disarray a little bit, and it took us a while to find our feet. It took us pretty much nearly the first half of the season to find our feet. But the game that stands out for me that year was the Cup semi-final in Cork against my old club, Killester, who I had coached for the previous 5 years. So when I was with Killester had beaten UL a few times. You know, UL just couldn't, you know, get over that hurdle of beating Killester. So this Cup semi-final in Cork was obviously a massive game for us. And it went all the way to the wire, and when it went into overtime as well. You know, at the end of regulation time, our American Robert Taylor, Beattie Taylor, you might remember, Beattie, kind of point guard, and he was, when Beattie came in probably in November, after we changed Americans a couple of times, it kind of settled the team, and we found our stride then, you know, coming into that kind of Christmas time. So Beattie had the ball in his hands at the end of regulation, game tied, and we missed the shot. And so we're going into overtime, and can we, you know, get the momentum back on our side again? Maybe we felt, geez, we lost our chance there, but it fell to Beattie again at the end of overtime with the game tied, with the ball in his hands, and this time he made the shot to win the game. And it was absolutely amazing, I think, for the UL organisation and the team to finally beat Killester and get over the line, and then get ourselves into a cup final, which we went on to win. Jason Conlan had just come home as well at that time. So when I joined UL, Jason had joined the team as well. And you know, myself and Jason are still together now in Temple Oak, so many years later. So look, I mean, that was a great start for our tandem career in UL.
I suppose, Mark, in terms of momentum that sort of build up in UL, once you achieved the sort of first bit of silver where it came in, this whole sort of, not only the Limerick public, but the whole sort of Munster public sort of bought in around you in terms of support base, in terms of coming to UL, not only the students, but you had crowds coming from all parts of Clare, all parts of North Tipperary. So you didn't, although the heart base of your fans was Limerick City, you got all the sort of rural support, sort of when things were really going well. They also rallied in behind you, and you packed out the place night in, night out.
Yeah, it was great. And I suppose once we kind of got the bit of success going, and you know, that cup win then led to the league win as well, and the girls were really doing well. The UL Huskies were dominant team at that point as well. And you're right, my assistant coach, Mike Hickey, who back then, who's my assistant coach, our team manager with the national team now, is you know, a Clare man. And yeah, his Shannon Bass and his, you know, Bunratty and all the, you know, people that he knew, and you know, were coming in and following us as well, and you know, guys from Ennistimon and the schools from Ennistimon. And so yeah, it did drum up a good bit of I suppose hype around the surrounding counties, not just, in UL.
I suppose, Mark, so far we have Dream Team Olympic final of 1992, and number 5, 1984, and under 19, the first European victory against Denmark. Number 3, your time coaching UL Eagles, your semi-final victory versus Leicester in 2011 and 2012. And who gets the lucky runners-up number 2 spot for you?
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to stick on the coaching side of things, and a massive game for us in Temple Oak in the 2017-18 season. It all came down to a big game against the Tralee Warriors at home for us towards the end of the season, and if we won the game that night, we clinched the Super League, and we got off to a very poor start in that game. So American Mark Burnson was coaching Tralee, and Kieran Donaghy was prominent, and they had a Serbian and or two Serbians, and a very good American, Trey Pemberton, and they were a really tough side, and we got off to a very slow start. We could have been maybe 15 points down early in the second quarter, and it wasn't looking great, but the guys, we just found our stride again, and we clawed it back in. And superb second half performance. Mike Bonaparte, Jason, Paul Cummins, all round, Stephen James, Ronan McLaughlin, some of the club stalwarts, that true and true Temple Oak. And it was just an amazing victory to get over the line and actually win the Super League that night. The crowd was amazing. There's a great eagle eye kind of little video analysis, should we say, of the game, about a 12-minute clip that captures everything kind of that went on that night in terms of the atmosphere in the Oblates and the support we had from the club, and then the toughness of the game. So that it was a huge victory for the club and Temple Oak, and to win the Super League for the first time ever was a fantastic game of basketball, though. Was the big thing. It was really tense, and just to come out on the right side was fabulous.
I suppose, Mark, you mentioned there getting off to a rocky start against Tralee. And I suppose as the coach, your timeouts are sort of crucial. And in a game where it's so critical, where it's winner sort of takes all sort of environment, when players are sort of maybe not coming out of the blocks as the way you like, and you call that sort of timeout, is it more reassuring, or is it more reminding them of the process, or do you need to take, I just need to calm, lads, just relax a bit, or do you go into more the technical side? Look, we need to be doing X, Y, and Z.
Well, it's probably a little mix of both. We got to settle down, and there's a long time to go, so no need to panic, and hit the reset button. And then, what I can't remember now exactly at the time what the focus was, in terms of we might have been making good plays but not finishing, or we might have been a bit too soft on the defensive end, or they just started on fire and, they were just hitting everything. So you just have to kind of settle things down a little bit, and it's a long game, and a 15 or 17 point lead can be reined back in very quickly. So refocus or reset, and get back in it, because no need to panic at that stage, early on in the game, and the guys settled in really well and found their stride.
I suppose, Mark, we saw so far number 5, the Dream Team 92 Olympics, number 4, 1984, the under-19 international win versus Denmark for the junior team in the tournament in Finland. Number 3, your time coaching in the UL Eagles 2011-2012, that cup semi-final versus Leicester. Number 2, your time in Timpanogue, winning the league in 2017-2018, that crucial winner-take-all game versus Tralee Warriors. And I suppose, Mark Keenan, we 4 spots of your number 5, your top 5 games filled out. All we need to do now is crown a winner and claim that 3-point shot.
Well, it was really a photo finish on this, you know, and it was down to 2, and obviously, and the second one that I didn't pick probably deserves to be in there. So the one that I didn't pick was the Premier Select team going to the UK and beating the BBL Select team in that kind of 2011-12 or around 12-13, around there. We went 2 years in a row, and that was fantastic as well, to be part of that and going to Birmingham, you know, the National Indoor Arena, in front of a big crowd and beating the BBL Select was a huge statement, I think, for our league and the strength of, you know, what we have in Ireland. But I've actually picked then as the number 1, going back to as a player, and that was the 1994 European Promotions Cup tournament, which was held in Dublin in the basketball arena, and Ireland won, and I happened to be team captain, and we beat Cyprus to win the Champions Trophy that time after 4 attempts, you know, at it. I think there might have been two or three players that had played in all 4 Promotions Cup to that date, and to be team captain that night and lifting the European Cup in the arena in Dublin, it was something special. And, you know, I'm a player at heart still, you know. Still play a bit of Masters, so it's kind of player first, coach second. So that was a memorable victory for Ireland.
And you mentioned there about being team captain from Ireland since 1990, and I suppose you probably went through the heartache of, as being team captain, of losing those sort of finals as well. And once you lose the second one, and you comes around the third one, and the third one doesn't go your way, you're probably thinking to yourself, right, this is not, our time is past, our time is gone, it's not going to happen for us. Especially after the first, the second one, but the third one, that must be the real crushing sort of blow to lose that one.
Yeah, and I think the third one was in Cyprus, if memory serves me right, and I think we lost to Cyprus, and we'd had a few battles with Cyprus over the years, and they were a tough-nosed kind of team, and they had a few players like ourselves that had played in, you know, most of those tournaments. And going back to the start of it, Iceland would have been were one of the top teams in it as well, and I think we beat in '94 then. But I suppose maybe going in after the third one, your point about maybe being a bit disheartened, thinking it would never happen, but then obviously the fourth one being in Dublin probably gave us that extra bit of, right, now is our chance at home with the home crowd. You know, now if we're not going to do it this time, we're never going to do it maybe. So that was the one maybe, and that, you know, being at home probably gave us that extra edge to get over the line. And of course it came down to Cyprus again, you know, in the final. And they had some really tough kind of nose players like ourselves. And, you know, we great battles with them, and just lucky enough we came out on the right side that time.
So, Mark Keenan, your top 5 games. In number 5, your dream team 92 victory for the USA basketball team in the Olympics versus Croatia. Number 4 is 1984, Ireland's first junior international victory against Denmark in the European Championships. Number 3, your time in UL Eagles, the Cup semi-final victory versus Leicester in 2011, 2012. Number 2 is Timpenlogue's winner-take-all game 2017-2018 to win the league against Tralee Warriors. And your number 1 game is captaining Ireland to win the 1994 European Cup tournament in Dublin, beating Cyprus. So, Mark Keenan, that concludes your top 5 games. And I suppose, lastly, Mark, I suppose as international team manager of Ireland's senior team, I suppose obviously disruptions have been halted. And I suppose as a squad, it's important to trying to keep in touch and contact with players. And I suppose you're mad eager to go once everything returns back to normal.
Yeah. Look, unfortunately, we've had to just wipe this whole summer out. Where could we get back and train? But not now. But I know Basketball Ireland, have made a stance on this now, that all international training and everything is suspended now for this year. So we just look. It gives us another year for guys to mature and get better and get stronger. It'll suit a lot of players, and mightn't suit some of the older guys that maybe this was going to be the year. So we just have to kind of roll with that, and see where it brings us the following year. So it's pushed back to 21, but it's going to be in UL, so which is great. We're at home again, so looking forward to that, and hopefully everything between now and then, that the game gets fully back. I know the league, or maybe Basketball Ireland, are talking about the Super League maybe starting in November, so it might be a shortened season, and then hopefully we'll just roll into the following summer then, and get ourselves prepared. So yeah, look, every country are in the same boat in terms of everything being knocked on the head this year. But we just have to get on with it. And, it's been a tough old time for everybody with the COVID. And, just have to get on with it.
On that note, Mark Keenan, an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening to reveal your top 5 games of illustrious career, not only as a manager, but as a player as well, that's gone back over 30 or 40 years at least, Mark. And you're going to be involved, no doubt, in the future of Ireland basketball and shaping its future for the next decade or even 2 decades, dare I say. Mark Keenan, pleasure, mate, as always. Take care.
Thanks very much, Jim. Thank you.